Hi, I'm Larry Leach, proud Executive Director of 12 Community Safety Initiative and host of the Meet Your Neighbors series. During the pandemic, we held a number of sessions over Zoom aimed at learning more about the diverse cultures and people in our communities. Our guest panelists were asked a series of 4 questions directed at identifying some of the challenges they face, what supports could help, and how those of us in our communities can welcome newcomers into our neighborhoods. Meet Your Neighbors series gives us a closer look at each of the sessions and the wonderful guest panelists that we had in our diversity series. We've also included some of our participants in the series with their insightful questions and comments. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoy Meet Your South Sudanese Neighbors. So we'll get started with my good friend, Khor.
I came to Canada too 19 years ago. I was born and raised in Sudan, now South Sudan. Greater Port of Sloan has been my home for the last 19 years. I think when I presented to 12 CSI years ago, I think it was Marian who nominated me for a conference in Banff about revitalizing the International Avenue. The change that you have seen today, I was part of that process of redesigning the International Avenue. So that was a great opportunity for me to be given by 12 CSI. So all about cultural barrier. Because of that fear of not knowing the language, not knowing the culture and all sort of things, you even scared even to talk to people, to ask somebody. And this is a danger of not knowing a culture. You have a fear of unknown. And it's the same thing that if you have a neighbor that is from different culture, that fear of unknown created some stereotype, some sort of mistrust. There was a lady that I met. She was given a chance to talk on my wedding. She said, before I met the South Sudanese, oh my God, I couldn't believe that I could even be friend with them, because all the things that I hear about African and Sudanese, it's just violent and violent, bad people, all of this. But when I got to know them, they are so loving, they are so wonderful, they are so welcoming. I didn't know before that I could even interact with them. But now I got to know them through Meet the Neighbors. They are wonderful. So that's how we can create a culture where people come together from different culture and break those barriers by interacting or working together. Then you can actually know exactly what this culture is all about.
Thanks, Khor. And the headliner, Mayor.
Thank you for that. So me, growing up, I've been so blessed to have such a present mother. 10 years old, I wasn't really the one raising the kids, as a lot of these situations look like. My mom, she worked for a bit, and then she was a stay-at-home mom with us. And so my dad had the burden of going to school and working while our mother took care of us. But I think I have had a lot of responsibilities though as the older kid. I have benefited greatly from programs and volunteers who have poured into my life. And so as I grew up, it was just second nature. I had to make time to volunteer and to give back to the community. I think it was when I was in grade 12, it was one of my busier seasons. I had started a dance class for the kids in my community, and the dance class was an affordable dance class. So I was doing that on Thursdays. I had school and it was really, really busy. And I also had my job. As I became more involved in the Sudanese community, I realized that a large number of kids had very different experiences from myself growing up. The first generation, like my father and Khor, they saw the value in the things that they were doing. So sleep wasn't really the biggest priority. It was your family, volunteering, school and work. I think a lot of people in the Sudanese community are busy. They like being busy. They like doing things. So I think when you see the value of something, you'll do it.
Thanks, Mayor.
The first question, what are some of the issues or concerns that you feel members of your community are facing? And I'll let you guys, Khor, Mayor, just kind of, decide who's going to go first.
I could go, sure,
Okay,
why not?
go ahead, yeah.
I think right now is maybe lack of programs and activities for the children and their families. When children, particularly the boys, from what I've seen, when they have nothing to do outside of school, they'll go look for something to do and someone to be around. And a lot of the time, especially in a fatherless household, they'll often go find male figures to be around and look up to. And sometimes they aren't the best examples for the boys, and they'll just continue to spend their time around them because they're around people. That's what people need. We're social animals, right? So we all know the expression, you are your association. You become the 5 people you spend your time around. And I think that is a huge issue in our community, and it leads to a lot of other problems that we see today. Because I really do think that these programs help children, and we need to start while they're young, and that's just from my observation. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, for that explanation. That's really good. I think what often happens is that when people are in new environment where their culture does not exist anymore, they interact with they are maybe encountered with a different culture, it creates a crisis. And that's exactly what had happened to South Sudanese or other immigrant communities, finding themselves in new environment. Everything is new. A lot of Sudanese came to Canada around 2000, 2002. Then within 2006, it broke people apart. Now people can't function anymore. Then what happened later? A lot of youth in crisis, in joining gangs, as Mayor mentioned earlier. When kids have nothing good to do, they join the wrong groups. They join the wrong, because the kids cannot get support from the families. Families work 12 hours a day, or some of the parents work 2 jobs. So do they have time with their families? No, they don't have, because it's just you come back, you sleep, and then wake up and go to work. You can even spend two weeks without even seeing your own family. So and one income is not enough to pay your bills, to pay all of the things that is needed in the family, to support your family. One income is not enough, or 2 income is not enough. That's why some family members, they maybe one parent worked 1 job and the other one worked 2 jobs. So you have 3 jobs to sustain your family because the payment is not enough. And this is what is happening to most families. The older kids takes care of the other young kids because the families, the parents are not there. They are all at work all the time. So these are the challenges that are facing the community.
Thanks, Khor. So the next question, we kind of touched on it a little bit already, really, is what kind of support would you want for your community members?
To break a negative cycle, I think the most effective route is to work on the kids and work with the kids, pour into them so that when they do grow up, they see the value of volunteering and giving back and pouring into other people. I think that is the best way to go, and I think it definitely reaps a lot of benefits from what I've seen in my own life.
Thank you, Mayor. This is where I think the cultural communities need to work with community association and partner with agencies like 12 CSI to work together to build on a community, to build that diversity, to build community members, to build the support of collaborations, working together.
Thanks, Khor. I'm going to get you to start on the third question because your answer kind of dovetails really nicely. How you think community associations can reach you or your members of your community to get involved and participate.
Years ago, we realized this disconnect between community associations and or the neighborhoods and the cultural community. In Canada, the community is a community association, the neighborhood. But to the cultural communities, it's different. Their culture is their community, but their community is living all over Calgary. So they are not in one space or one physical location. How can we conjoin the two? How can we get the African communities engaged in their own physical community? What we did was to deliver flyers to the neighborhood mailbox all around and invite them to an event, to come and share meal, to come and share their culture, come and share whoever your neighbor is. The neighborhood can come together and network and connect. And that has a value in keeping our community safe. By coming together, we can learn all of those different values and what are the commonalities that we have. In this regard, we can build a cultural spirit of the community we live in. If you come to International Avenue, you can see all the 195 countries in the world. You can see a person on International Avenue from 195 countries. Is that beautiful? It's lovely. It's wonderful.
Very good. Do you want to expand on that a little bit, Mayor?
Yeah, to reach out to our community, we've got a number of leaders like myself and Khor, my father, and a number of others who have acted as a bridge towards, or a bridge in between associations and the community. So we definitely have acted like that in the past and will definitely love to do that in the future as well. I think the most attractive way to go is through children's programs, because that is something that the parents would definitely value and the kids would value, because when the parents are busy working for a number of hours or doing school and the kids are, they're not getting that attention, of course the parents would see value in their children participating in events that would better themselves and in programs that would better them. The children are the future. That's what it is, If you pour into them, your future will be great. So I think that's how a lot of us South Sudanese think.
Excellent. Okay, well, I'm going to get to our last prepared question. The last question is, how are you or your community members involved in the community associations in your area?
Hey, Mayor, why don't you start us off?
Grade 12 is when everything kind of started. I started to become more involved in the community. And I kind of had an invitation into an organization called SYSS, and it stands for Sudanese Youth and Family Services. I think it was 3 years ago when I got into the program. Some of my colleagues and I, we just started to create programs and events for the kids. A few of my partners in SYSS are, huge members of the community associations like Dover. And we actually have our office there for Sudanese Youth and Family Services.
Years ago, because of the crisis in the families, in the community, that's a time that is our youth, the Sudanese youth, they become an enemy of the community at that time. So if the community has an event, they come and distract the event, the community event. Our community was sort of discontinued to use the Dover community and also the Forest Lawn community. We were suspended there. The Sudanese were not allowed there. But when we came up with the initiative, Meet the Neighbors, we opened up those avenues. We went and presented to the Forest Lawn community saying that we are going to have an event that is going to be Meet the Neighbors. For them to allow us to have an event there because of the history of the Sudanese community, they were like, what? But at that time, we were given a grant already by the city. So the committee were in that dilemma. of whether to allow us or not. Then they said, okay, let them give the Sudanese the benefit of the doubt. From that time, we got connected with the Forest Lawn community and also with the Dover community until Dover community ended up giving us an office space where that Mayor referred to earlier. This is the initiative that we took as a community that led to all those progresses and that trust that was built between the community association and the Sudanese community. The Sudanese as whole everywhere in Calgary, they feel that that's where they belong because they are allowed to freely to have activities and have the respect and honor, and it's something that we appreciate to the Dover community and also the Forest Lawn community. And that's how things change. Things change by a small, manner or initiative.
Thank you, Khor.
I got about 10 to 15 minutes if there's some other questions by some of our attendees, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
May I ask one, Larry?
Sure.
Just in terms of some of the work like that my community association does, is there anything that we can do to make sure initiatives that we do are culturally safe and meaningful?
Just really quickly, what kind of programs and events do you host, just for clarity?
Yeah, just kind of the park space is probably the biggest one on the forefront of my own brain, but also even things like as simple as social media, right? How can you engage and how can we represent our community members,
I think what you're doing is beautiful, and it's really, really important. And as for social media, I think it's important to just show the beauty in your work and what you're doing and the faces and just how it's benefiting the community. I think on social media, we are bombarded by negative news. And so if you show something positive, that could have a great impact and really, really show what you're doing to people who might not know what you're working on, or people who might not know the community.
That's a good question. And I think sometimes too, as human, we learn by doing. I think the most important part is getting involved community members, South Sudanese community members that lived in that neighborhood. Then by working together, that's when you can learn all about what would be culturally sensitive to those that live in the neighborhood. How do we work together? How can we connect and solidify our community and create safe environment? Our diversity is our strength. And I think that's a message we need to sell on social media or wherever we speak, that our diversity is important and it's unique and it's strength. So that we could be even the one that unite the whole Calgary. That's what I would think. Yeah.
As always, very thoughtful. I want to finish with going around to all of our attendees, just basically asking you what you might have learned from today or what you got from today, and then Mayor and Khor will be the last to talk about that, okay. And we'll finish off. So I'll start with Michelle.
Thank you for sharing your story. And I think it was that great reminder of however hard we think our life is here, multiply that by 10 times for somebody that has just moved here, doesn't know the language, is scared to ask for help because, they're not comfortable in the surrounding. And I think it's just that great reminder of, as much as we might think our life is hard, think of how much harder it is for somebody else in a different situation.
Elizabeth.
I just want to say two things. One thing is that it's reaffirming to know that there's so much more that we share with our neighbors than separates us or makes us different. The other thing I wanted to say was I actually really liked the format of these Saturday sessions. I love that they just feel like a conversation.
Marianne.
Mayor talked about really working with the South Sudanese community by offering opportunities for young people, engaging the young people. They're our future. And I think that community associations can do so much around supporting young people. And that's what all our young people need, is for us as a broader community to believe in them. And we believe in them by embracing them. And, you know, Khor talked about Meet the Neighbours, like that. It was Meet the Neighbours was an initiative that you came up with, Khor, you and a few of your friends came up with to address a problem. And so it was a community-driven solution to some challenges that the community was facing. And I think that's what we need to be talking, and how do we come up with things together. And so that Meet the Neighbours sounds like it was a really great success, and really felt that there's some tangible ideas that actually came out of today's session. So through just a natural conversation, as Elizabeth said. So thank you.
Samantha.
Something from both of you that I took away, the children's programs, I agree. And I can see the connection of how I see it in, I guess, lower income families and, you know, children who don't have the opportunities to be in sports or programs like, you know, how I grew up with, and how, you know, they would grow up similar to the examples you were giving, Mayor. It was interesting to see the connection and kind of cross it over to what you were saying. Thank you.
Sabita.
Thank you, Khor and Mayor, for sharing your first-hand stories. Myself being an immigrant and going through similar kind of experience, integrating in the society, it's really kind of not easy. A lot of challenges for kids or for adults, but the relationship is the most important thing, I would say, for any immigrants or any neighborhoods. Yeah, thank you.
Michael.
Thank you for today, everybody. And it all revolves around the phrase that you've all heard: you don't know what you don't know. I said, so why doesn't somebody tell us? We don't know what you have been through. I thought I had it hard. Obviously, that's not true, right? But thank you.
Mickey.
On a community association side, we're always talking about engagement and how do we engage our residents. And we're always talking, we need more volunteers. And I think the comment that really sat with me is that the people in our community that may need the programs and services are actually too busy to be the ones volunteering to do that. And I think that's, you know, with working in school and potentially family and all of those sorts of things, I really need to keep that in mind when we're trying to come up with different things to engage everybody.
Giselle.
I also really like the idea of Meet the Neighbours and some of the things that you can do with kids and families, whether it's events or sharing meals, sports, those sorts of things to engage people and get to know them. You know, one of the things I realized listening to it is that that's really how people do engage to start with, is getting to know each other, really listening to each other, talking to each other, and spending the time to build those relationships. So I really appreciated that. Thank you.
Mayor.
I learned a lot today, and from Khor, I definitely realized that a lot of us kids take a lot of things for granted when thinking about how much our parents have struggled and have paved the way for us. I'm just super duper blessed. And I also learned that there are a lot of people who are very interested in my community and who want to learn more about stories like mine and Khor's. And I'm really, really thankful for that. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mayor.
And we'll finish up with Khor. What are your final thoughts on the day?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone, for listening and for participating. What I've learned from today is that sharing perspective, ideas, opinion, questions is very important for for communities to network, to connect. That was Michael who said that not knowing what you don't know is, you can't know anything until somebody is there to tell you what their experience is. I learned from all of you today. It's wonderful. I wanted to learn from other communities that will be the next panel. So I'm going to be part of that, and it's all about learning, because I don't know what the other societies know about our international avenue. We all need to come together and learn together as a community of Calgary generally. We need to learn from each other, and then that's integration. To me, integration is learning from each culture of Canada. Then that helped me integrate, because I can feel that I'm being part of the land and the culture and the community without even learning all of those pieces of cultures that we call multiculturalism, or mosaic society, as we refer to ourselves as Canadian. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you for making me learn from all of you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, everybody, I'd like to thank you for spending the time with us on this beautiful, beautiful Calgary day. Especially like to thank Marian for reaching out to Khor and Mayor, and then of course Khor and Mayor for being wonderful panelists and sharing your stories. And happy that everybody got some great insights into your culture. And we hope that this will continue into a developing relationship with everybody that attended today. So thank you very much.